Hello everybody, this is Howard again, the Teaserking, coming to you now with the AFC side of the draft. Uh, if you watch the NFC side, I get a little bit more analytical on the reason, how I look at the draft and a little bit of analysis on it prior to going into the NFC. So please check that one out also. I hope you do. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it here, email me, whatever you'd like, and let me know what you think. Again, I'm looking at it as a different way. I'm looking at how much of an impact are these drafts gonna affect our picking games, me picking you winners. What is the key that is going to help us win? How much of an effect is some team drafting a cornerback or a running back or a quarterback? Is the quarterback any good, or is he any bad? Is he not that good? So I get into a lot of that, is really how it affects our picks, how it affects us winning. And that's what I'm looking at. How much is this helping the team? So when I do this, you might think it's a good draft because of certain names or players, but I'm looking at it's not going to help them. We're still going to bet heavily against them or heavily with them because of the draft or what they did or didn't do. A la Minnesota, didn't get a good quarterback. Dallas didn't draft Manziel, and they're stuck with Romo. Fine. We're going to pound against Minnesota. We're going to pound against Dallas like we did, and we'll make more money against them. And that's the beauty of it. So that's really what I'm looking at, just so you understand the way I grade. All right, let's get on with the AFC. First team is Baltimore. I think they had a very good draft. I like Jernigan, the nose tackle from Florida State. Florida State had a lot of speed and a lot of good concepts and a lot of good players last year on defense. I think they were the #1 defense in the country. And the way they held Clemson and Duke to almost nothing, and and a little bit of Florida, and the way they shut down Auburn in the second half, they had great defense. Next, I like and Mosley, the linebacker from Alabama. I think they'll be good for Baltimore, but I'm not crazy about Alabama defense. I've not seen like all these all-pros coming out of Alabama. I see them coming out of LSU. Patrick Peterson, Honey Badger, a lot of positions. The safety last year went to the 49ers. I see a lot of them making impacts and making really good things. And I've not seen a lot of guys from Alabama step in and go, oh, look at, he's from Alabama, wow, he's all-pro. Haven't seen it. I think it's their scheme and their style, and they blitz a lot, and they haven't played good defense, good quarterbacks. But in the games where they face good quarterbacks, their defenses looked average. Manziel lights them up for over 42 years in a row. Murray from Georgia lights them up in the championship game and should have beaten him if he didn't make the stupid pass at the 5-yard line. Georgia's in there, and he made them look average. So when they play a bunch of no quarterbacks, they will look good because they blitz them. But as soon as they get a good quarterback, they're not really that strong of a team. So anyway, that's my point. So I'm not crazy with Alabama defensive players. They're not as good as you think they should be. So I think it's a good draft for them because if they got the kid from Florida State and Mosley, who should probably be a decent backup. But outside of that, they still need a quarterback. They need receivers. Ray Rice, who knows if he's going to play. Paul Pierce will step in nicely, but their defense without Ray Lewis and Ed Reed just was not that strong last year. So this kid will help a little, but this isn't the answer. So it's a good draft, but they're not. They're dropping Baltimore, and we will bet against them. Buffalo, I thought, had an average draft. I'm not in love with this Watkins. I watched him at Clemson. All you need to do is watch the Florida State game and go, Watkins did what? Where was he? Was he on the field? They dominated this team. And against the fast secondary, Watkins didn't do anything. And guess what? In the pros, it's fast secondary. So I think it was good. I think he lit up Ohio State. We had a terrible defense. So that wasn't a big thing. He's a good, fast receiver, but let's take a look at the other Clemson guy, C.J. Spiller on Buffalo, and he was good in Clemson. He gets to the pros. He hasn't really done anything. I don't see Watkins being Jerry Rice, so I think it'll be a decent, receiver, I don't think he'll be the primary receiver at Buffalo. They still don't have a quarterback at Buffalo. E.J. Manuel is not the answer. He's no better than Christian Ponder. I do like Cockrell, the cornerback from Duke. I think he's a starter. And then Brown, a linebacker from Louisville, could be okay. But overall, Buffalo still stinks. We'll still bet against them heavily. I don't see this. They still need a quarterback and a defense. So this really hasn't changed anything. Cincinnati, I thought, had the best draft of all. They got 2 All-Pros. Darkus Denard, shutdown cornerback from Michigan State, who was dominant last year, and Hill, the running back from LSU, will be great for Cincinnati in these third downs in these games against Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I see Cincinnati winning the division, getting to the championship game against either New England or Denver. And now they have a very good chance of winning with Denard, the perfect cornerback against Brady and Manning. He's going to shut down their best receiver, so I like that pick tremendously. They also signed Isaiah Lewis from Michigan State, the strong safety, was All-American. How these guys are not getting drafted is beyond me, but you got to love Denard and Isaiah Lewis. You know, that's 2 starters on Cincinnati. One of them they didn't even draft, to an already fairly good defensive team. This is a playoff team who just added 3 starters, so I love the 2-dimensional offense now with Hill, and the shutdown corner and Denard just makes the defense even stronger. They just need a few more pass rushers, and I just look at Cincinnati's going to definitely be in a championship game this year with these picks. Cleveland, I thought, had a good draft. I like Manziel. I'm not crazy about Gilbert at Oak State. They should have taken Denard. He was the number 1 cornerback if you watch college football at all. He shut down Ohio State. He shut down Stanford. So, you know, that's enough said there. I don't know what you're looking at if you don't think Denard's the best. You know, good luck trying to throw to him. Gilbert on Oklahoma State. Baylor lit him up. A&M lit him up. I really don't get Oklahoma that this guy's that wonderful a shutdown. Kirksey, the linebacker from Iowa, I like. So, you know, Gilbert will start because Cleveland's terrible. Kirksey is a good linebacker, make the team. Manziel, he needs receivers. I mean, especially with Josh Gordon going out. Now you got him with no real running back, and now you got no receiver for him. Good luck there. Should have went to Dallas. If he went to Dallas, he would have been an all-star. Cleveland, I mean, if the quarterback from Oak State couldn't do anything, I thought Whedon was very good. I just don't see what Manziel, I think Manziel's a very good quarterback, but at Cleveland, his hands are in handcuffs. I just don't see it. I love Manziel. He'll do well, but it's a tough situation in Cleveland. Denver, I thought, had an average draft. Too many Big Ten players, I say. They drafted the other offensive tackle from Michigan, Taylor Lewan. Now, Michigan had a terrible offensive line last year. They did not do well on offense, so I'm really questioning that this offensive tackle from Michigan should have been drafted. I don't buy it. Roby from Ohio State, I think, is good as cornerback. Burrow, because he's from LSU, I like. I don't agree with Latimer, the wide receiver at Indiana. They run also one of these spread offenses, so I don't know how good he's going to be. We'll be all right at Denver, but they really have 4 or 5 good receivers. I don't understand the pick. They much more need a defense. Their linebacker from A&M, they're all pro. Was injured, will be better. As long as the key to them is going to be Noshan Marino. When New England cracked his ribs, of course he couldn't do anything in the Super Bowl, which is why I bet against Denver so much. Is one-dimensionally Seattle was going to eat him up. So Denver needs a little bit better defense. Now they did add the guy from Dallas, who again I want to say Alonzo Spellman, or is Alonzo somebody? I apologize. My mind is not football season yet, but the kid they got from Dallas will help them with the linebackers from A&M. You all know who I'm talking about. I just can't remember the name. Anyway, I see Burrow doing well and Roby helping them, but I don't like the offensive tackle from Michigan. Wrong player. Latimer will be decent, but they don't need a receiver. They needed probably another running back and some secondary help, which they got. So I think Denver, again, will be in the playoffs. They'll be a great regular season team as usual. We're going to play them week 1 against Indianapolis. They're only laying 7, so that's already a big play. Week 1 laying 1. But I just don't see the two-dimensional and the defense enough to beat Cincinnati, or Tom Brady's going to, see what happens with him. Always dangerous. Next team was Houston. I think Houston had an average draft. Clowney, I think, is very good. You got J.J. Watt with them. Now, I don't understand his Nix, the defensive tackle from Notre Dame. Why so many defensive linemen? Now you got Clowney, you got J.J. Watt. You really need this Nix? You have the linebacker from USC's hurt. He's always hurt. You need to replace him. You didn't. Secondary help, God knows they need that. God knows they need a quarterback, and God knows they need receivers because Andre Johnson doesn't want to play there. So they got their hands full, and they're drafting Nix from Notre Dame, who I thought was terrible last year. Supposed to be an All-American, and Notre Dame was terrible last year. Their defense wasn't that good, so I don't really understand that pick at all. I like Philo Gula from UCLA, or Philo Gu, Philo G, whatever, from UCLA. I think he's a good guard. He'll help them. And Blue I like because he's from LSU, period. So I think it was an average draft for them. I do like the quarterback from Houston College. I think he'll be good. I think he's better than you think, but he's been injured a lot. I just don't think they have any offense. They're not two-dimensional. They don't have that running back, and they're, and if Andre Johnson doesn't play, forget about him. So they really haven't helped themselves that much this year. They'll be terrible. Indianapolis had a terrible draft. The only good player they got was Moncrief, the wide receiver from Ole Miss, which will help. But it's all if Reggie Wayne comes back, then they'll be fine. They got Andrew Luck. They need some defense, so we'll see. But they're still a playoff team, but they haven't gotten to the next hurdle yet. Jacksonville, I thought, had a terrible draft. Blake Bortles. All right, here's the stat for Blake Bortles. Played Houston. They beat them 19-14. Houston had one of the worst defenses in college football last year. They played Temple. They won 39-36. They played South Florida and won like 16-13. This does not come from behind to beat Temple 39-36. I'm sorry, that doesn't show me Bortles is good in the clutch. That was a must-win game. The South Florida game was a must-win game. He barely showed up. The Houston game, I saw that game. We bet Houston heavily, and it was a playoff game, and he looked terrible. I don't get Bortles. He's not a number 2 pick. He's not a starter in the NFL. Terrible draft. Marquise Lee, USC wide receiver, did nothing. I don't see him. The only receiver from USC has done anything ever is Lynn Swann. I mean, Keyshawn Johnson, what did he do? He was nothing. The other guy, who I can't remember, I'm having a real mind thing with names right now. The other receiver from USC drafted last year, what team is he on? I can't even remember. Did he do anything? I don't remember. I don't think Lee's the answer. Robinson from Penn State, the wide receiver, I think will be okay, but he's not a burner. He's not your answer. So Bortles is a backup quarterback. You drafted him number 2. Terrible pick. Should have traded and got more picks and then taken some help in defense and other areas. I don't like their draft at all. They'll be the worst team in the league again. Kansas City, weak draft. Thomas, the running back from Oregon, average. Ford, the defensive end from Auburn, I thought was a terrible pick. Since when did Auburn get a defense? I watched Auburn quite a bit, give up a lot of points. That was one of the reasons I locked Florida State against them. I mean, considering Winston didn't even play the first half, and they had a 21-3 lead, and they lost 34-31. So where's the defense? I didn't see it. Ford, he'll be like the guy in the Lions, Chris Farley. He doesn't do anything. Ford, terrible pick. I think their first 2 picks were weak. I think Kansas City had a terrible draft, didn't help them at all. Miami, terrible draft. Landry from LSU is the only good one. I thought their first 2 picks were terrible. Offensive lineman, again, not in the first 2 rounds. Terrible draft. They'll be worse next year than they were last year. New England, I had them weak, but after researching it, I'm giving them a good grade. The defensive tackle, easily from Florida, I think he'll be okay, but Florida had such a bad team last year, it's really hard to rank them and to take them so high. Stork, the guard from Florida State, was all ACC. I'll give them credit because Florida State had a very good team. I don't mind that pick. White, I don't understand. The running back from Wisconsin was not the right one. Melvin Gordon was their star running back, so I don't get that. Their best pick was Gallen, the wide receiver from Michigan. He'll get open. 3rd and 3, he'll make the catches. He'll get open. He's great hands, great finding it. He'll be a perfect complement to Brady, and they're both Michigan guys. So I think that's their top pick is Gallen, Jeremy Gallen, wide receiver from Michigan. Very good player again because he's small. But look at Danny Woodhead and look at the other receiver at New England who makes all the catches. So I don't buy this little stuff, and these DMs have their heads so far up their butts thinking everybody needs to be 6'6". It's not basketball, it's football. It's getting open and catching the ball and getting the yardage. Gallen is excellent at doing that, so that's a great pick, their best one by far. And you'll see New England move to the championship game with that pick, because Gallen will get open for Brady, and he won't drop the ball like the guy who went to Denver, Mr. From Texas Tech. Oh my God. He'll be much better than that guy. New York Jets, I thought, had an average draft. Pryor, the free safety from Louisville, is good. He'll start. Evans, I liked from UCLA. I think they found their quarterback in Ty Boyd from Clemson is better than anything they got. Much better than Mike Vick and much better than the kid from West Virginia, who to me is lousy. Boyd's much better. Who made who? Did he make Watkins or did Watkins make him? And I think clearly Boyd made Watkins. So I look for Boyd to start in New York by the middle of the season. Oakland had a very good draft. Mack, the linebacker from Buffalo, I don't know. I mean, played at Buffalo, and Buffalo didn't really shut out everybody, so I don't know why he was drafted so highly. I do like Jackson, the guard from Mississippi State, a lot. And they got the best quarterback in the draft, and Derek Carr from Fresno State. You can say all you want about, here's the ironic thing. Oh, look at the competition. And yet, what happens? Quarterbacks get drafted from Eastern Washington and from, Tulane and all these weak schools. And yet, here's a kid from Fresno State throws 50 touchdown passes. And I watched many of his games because we bet them a lot late. And they were the midnight game. And I'm watching them come from behind against San Diego State. And even in their loss to San Jose State, they put up 52 points. That hurt me, that loss. That really crushed me. But basically, Carr is the best quarterback in this draft. Oakland got a good one there. We'll see how much better Oakland is, but definitely a good quarterback. Pittsburgh had a good draft. Shazar, linebacker from Ohio State, will start. Truitt, the defensive end from Notre Dame, was an All-American. I don't know. Again, Notre Dame had such a bad defense. I don't really understand these guys making these draft picks of Notre Dame guys like they're good. So wait and see, but he's on Pittsburgh. I think he'll help. I think he'll be rotated in. So we'll see what happens with them. San Diego, I thought, had a weak draft. I liked Fournette, the cornerback from TCU, All-American. That's it. That'll help them, but again, it's Woodhead. Again, it's Antonio Gates. So if Rivers stays in, we got to see what happened. They lost the offensive coordinator to Tennessee. So we'll see how Rivers reacts. But I do like San Diego a lot, but they didn't really help themselves too much in the draft. The one starter, Fournette. And last but not least is Tennessee. I thought they had a very weak draft. Taylor Lewan from Michigan, questionable. Again, taking a tackle that high. I do like Shanley, the running back from Washington. I think he'll be able to replace Chris Johnson. Outside of that, I didn't see anybody. These linemen. I do like their new coach. Thought he was good at Arizona. He'll step in, but they don't really have a quarterback. Jake Locker's nothing, and that's really their problem. So we'll see. Hopefully Shanley makes them a little bit more two-dimensional, but I don't see it. My predictions for the AFC, like I said, Cincinnati wins the Central, and then Pittsburgh will be there. Baltimore's fading. Flacco's not very good. I like New England in the East. Miami's taking a step back. Buffalo hasn't done anything. The Jets, again, unless they put in Boyd, is their only hope. In the West, of course, Denver will win it. San Diego probably is better than Kansas City, and then Oakland getting better. In the South, got to be Indy, but Jacksonville, Houston, and Tennessee are terrible again. And let's see, we went East, West. In the North, no, we got Cincinnati. So I think that's it. So my championship game will be Cincinnati and either Denver or New England, depending on what happens to injuries during the year. And then down south, Indy will be okay with Andrew Luck, but they didn't really add too much. So they'll be, they're the least of the contenders. But I look for Cincinnati to crack and be in the championship game this year with the excellent drafting they did. Too early to tell the Super Bowl because of injuries, but I do like what I saw. But again, that's my opinion. I don't like first round, top 10 picks taking offensive, defensive linemen. Maybe a Clowney because he puts pressure on the quarterback. But at the end of the day, the NFL, these guys are missing the point. You win with defense. You win running the ball. I know it's a passing league, but how many passing teams do anything? Proof of the pudding is San Francisco, Seattle, Baltimore. They win without really strong quarterbacks. And if that's the case, why doesn't Manning win the Super Bowl every year with his Omaha passing all the time? Brady does. He gets the 5 Super Bowls, but it's because of their defense they won the Super Bowls. As soon as they lost Vrabel and they lost, oh my God, they lost Seymour and they lost Teddy Bruschi. I remember the name. As soon as they lost those guys, notice they didn't win any Super Bowls because they can't replace them. The guys they replace them are all SEC guys, but they're not very good in New England's scheme. And then they don't give Brady any receivers. So Galen will help him tremendously this year. Oh yeah, Wes Welker is the receiver who left New England, went to Denver, and look what he did. And he dropped many key passes in 2 Super Bowls to the Giants on 3rd and 5. Galen will not do those drops. He's very sure-handed. He will catch the ball. And that's what you look for, is the money player, the winner who will win the game for you. So definitely we'll be betting New England hard and Denver hard, Cincinnati very hard. Pittsburgh I'd like to see play better. I think Oakland can surprise, and San Diego should be a good dog for us. Indy at home. Again, Houston looks like an under team now. It looks like they'll have a great defensive line. If Brian Cushing, I'm remembering names now. If Brian Cushing, their linebacker, can stay healthy, they can do better. And then the question is, will Andre Johnson still be there? And will he be back to form? He's so beaten up. Again, Case Keenum. Look at this. I'm remembering all these names. I'm so happy. Case Keenum, their quarterback, I think is very good. I watched him at Houston, but he got injured, hurt his knee, and was, played 6 years because he was redshirted with injuries. But again, they have some weapons, but they drafted Tom Savage from Pittsburgh. Good luck there. He didn't show me anything. So I don't see it. Again, look for New England to play very strong because Brady's nearing the end. If Gronkowski can ever get healthy with Galen, look out. I think they'll be very tough to beat. I was surprised they let LeGarrette Blount go. He was a very good balancer on their offense, that tough running. I was surprised by that. Of course, I was surprised they let Randy Moss go. So we'll see what happens. But I do think New England makes the push with Cincinnati, and Denver will be there if they can, Anthony Spencer, no, not him. The guy from Dallas and their linebacker from A&M can stay healthy, and Marino stays healthy. Denver couldn't be in the championship game also. But it'll be New England, Denver, and Cincinnati will be a 3-horse race. Kansas City won't do anything. Alex Smith, nothing. And in the South with Indy and Houston, Jacksonville will be last place. Tennessee's terrible, even with their coach. I mean, I love their coach, but he just doesn't have talent. He's not going to win with Jake Locker. I mean, it's terrible. All right. Well, anyway, Teaserking with the AFC draft analysis. Please, questions and comments. again, I'm looking at it in terms of betting. I'm looking at it in terms of how do I pick the games, who helped what team. And the biggest mistake in the draft is Dallas not taking Manziel. Romo, first of all, is a choke and a loser, and they never win. When you add that with his back injury, keeping him out of the Philadelphia game, how many more years does he have? And here's Manziel from Dallas, who's a much better quarterback than Romo now. And they would have won with him with Des Bryant and their receivers. I mean, they would have won. So now you didn't take Manziel, which is going to come back to haunt him. And and the problem with Manziel, I love Manziel. He's great, but he's on Cleveland, and if Brandon Whedon couldn't make Cleveland any better, and he was a good quarterback at Oak State. And again, Blackman, he's on Jacksonville. What's happened to him? He was a great receiver at Oak State. So I don't really get what's going on with these guys. But Whedon's not that bad and should have done better had he been on another team. If I was Kansas City, I would take Kellen Moore or Jacksonville. He's very, very good, and he should be starting somewhere. And I don't care how small he is, lest we forget Joe Montana at 6'1", 110 pounds, and Colin Kaepernick, the guy from Frisco. Thank you, God. All the names are coming back to me. In the NFC one, I couldn't remember Colin Kaepernick. But, I thought he wasn't that good, but he showed me putting 20 points up against Seattle. He's a much better quarterback than I'm giving him credit for. But with Kaepernick and Russell Wilson from Seattle, it just shows you just need a good quarterback. Kellen Moore is definitely better than those two guys. So I'm really, they're looking at his height, but this guy, you watch the preseason game with the Lions when he's in there. He moves the team. He scores points. It's a joke he's not starting. He's much better than Stafford, even though he's not as tall as Stafford and with the great arm of Stafford, who turns the ball over 10 times a game. But that's okay. We'll keep betting against Stafford and the Lions until somebody drafts, trades for Kellen Moore, and then when they do, we'll start betting heavily on Kellen Moore. The guy took Boise. They won the most games of any team for 4 years, and they had him ranked in the top 5 every year, and he only threw 24, 25 interceptions in 4 years versus 130 touchdowns, averaging 50 points a game. So I guess it was all smoke and mirrors, and let's draft a kid from Eastern Illinois. He's better than the Boise kid. It's very frustrating to watch the idiots in the NFL GMs. They all listen to Mel Kiper. He's the guru. Oh, my God. All right, everybody. Have a great day, great weekend. Memorial Day is coming up, and August is just around the corner. Like I said, I'm already analyzing week 1. I've already seen some strong plays, provided nobody gets injured in preseason. We're going to make a lot of money this year, just like we did last year. All right, everybody. Have a nice night. Take care. Please contact me if you'd like.